Hi soulmates, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to be learning how to make a button down shirt, or you can call it a vintage shirt with collar and sleeves. So it's going to be a very detailed tutorial. So if this is what you want to see, please you have to watch till the end of the video. And if you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribing is absolutely free and it helps my channel grow. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. So let's get right into the video. So we're going to fold our fabric into two. And to make this shirt, you need 1.5 yards to make this shirt. So we're just going to draw our starting line from which we'll be taking all our necessary measurements. So from the starting line, we're going to take our bust point measurements. So from your shoulder to the top of your nipple, that's your bust point. So I'm going to take my bust point 11 inches, my waist 17 inches, and the length of my shirt plus 1.5 inches allowance for sewing. So after we've taken that, the next thing we're going to do now is to mark the sides for our blanket where our button and the hole is going to be. So from the center front, I am taking 2 inches. So we're just going to do that as well. 2 inches is enough for the center front to where you're going to add your buttons. So we're just going to mark a straight line, and from there we'll be taking our measurements. So the width of the neck is going to be 3 inches by 3 inches. The width will be 3 inches. The depth will also be 3 inches. And this is the front of the shirt. We are cutting the front first. So the front neck is going to be 3 inches by 3 inches. 3 inches is enough for the front. So we're just going to make a curve so we can have that round neckline. Yes. So from that 2 inches we marked from the center front, we're going to place our tape and divide our shoulder measurement by 2 and add 1/2 inch to it. So you're just going to take your shoulder measurement and add 1/2 inch for sewing to it. Then from that point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch for our shoulder slope because our shoulders are not straight. So we're just going to make a slant from the neck width to our shoulder slope. So from the shoulder slope point, I'm going to come down by 8 inches for my armhole. So to get your armhole, you can just divide your shoulder measurement by 2, and whatever you get, you can decide to add 1/2 inch to it or not. But I added 1/2 inch to mine because my shoulder measurement is 15, that's 7.5, and I added 1/2 inch to it to make it 8 inches. So from the point where we take our armhole measurement, we're going to divide it by 2 as you see me doing, and from there we're going to take our armhole curve. So this is how you get your armhole curve. After your shoulder slope, you take your armhole, then you divide it by 2 and you get your midpoint. From there you can connect your armhole. So after we've done that, we're going to be taking our bust measurement. So you're going to divide your bust measurement by 4, and whatever you get, you place it from that midpoint, that line we drew. You place it there, you mark it, and I added 2.5 inch sewing allowance to this because it doesn't have to be fitted. It has to be a bit free. So I'm taking my waist measurement I divided my waist measurement by 4, and what I got, I added 2.5 inch seam allowance to it. You can add 3 inches, 3.5, depending on how free you want it to be and depending on how big you are or your client. So the waist measurement I use is what I'm still going to use for the bottom part of the shirt, and I added 2.5 inch as well. So we're going to connect all the lines from the armhole to the waist. So because we want this shirt to be a bit stylish at the bottom, I'm just going to come up from that point by 2 inches. I'm just going to mark at that so that the shirt is going to have that kind of curve, and I'm going to come in from that waist point by 5 inches. So I'm just going to connect it with a little curve as you see me doing, but this is optional. If you want it to be straight, you can just leave it the way it is. So now we're going to add ½ inch to our shoulder because we don't want it to alter the shoulder measurement. So I'm just going to add ½ inch to it and connect it as you see me doing. So after we've done that, we're just going to cut this out. So we're just going to cut out the front open, and now we're going to fold it to the wrong side of this shirt, and we're going to pin it down. So the 2 inches we marked for the front, where we're going to be adding our buttons and our buttonhole to it, we're just going to fold it to the right side of the wrong side, of the shirt as you see me doing, and we're just going to pin it down. So this is what the front should look like after cutting. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fold that blanket for our buttonhole. We're going to stitch it down, and I'll be doing it for the two fronts. So when we're done, this is how the front should look like. It should be this neat, and you have to make sure you're doing it on the wrong side of the shirt. So this is the both sides, the two fronts. So what we're going to do now is to place this right sides facing to each other, and we're going to pin it down. So now we'll place it on the other part of the fabric, and the fabric is unfolded already into two. Now we're going to be making the back of this shirt. So from the shoulder, I came up by 2 inches. Yes, the shoulders will not be the same because this is a shirt. So we're going to come up by 2 inches from our actual front measurement, as you see me doing. So just make sure there is some allowance at the top of the shoulder for the back. So we came up by 2 inches, and from there we're just going to connect it to the armhole. Every other thing is going to be the same apart from the shoulder of the back. I hope that makes sense. So this is how it should be. It should be higher than the front by 2 inches. So for the width of the neck for the back, The width is going to be 3 inches as the front, but the depth is going to be 1 inch. 1 inch is enough for the depth. So the width will be 3 inches, the depth will be 1 inch. So we're just going to connect it like this, and we'll make a little curve so we can get our back neckline. So this is it. So there's no allowance at the back because there's not going to be any zipper. So just place your front the way it is, place it on the back, and we'll cut it out. So we're going to be opening our shirts right sides facing to each other. We're going to place them right sides facing to each other, and we're going to be closing the shoulders. So you just have to make sure everything is equal, and we're going to take this to our sewing machine and we're going to close the shoulders. So after we're done closing the shoulders, this is what it is looking like. So we're going to arrange this, making sure it is equal, and we're going to close the sides as well. So we're going to do that and come back to show you what it looks like. So after I've joined my sides, I am just taking my round neck measurement, the front and the back together. So to get your round neck measurement, you have to join your shoulders first. And when I took mine, it was 18.5 inches. So now we're going to be drafting the collar. So what you're going to do is that 18.5 inches you got, or depending on what you got, you're going to divide it into 2. So you're just going to pay attention to what I am doing. You divide it into 2. Whatever you get, you mark it. And when you divide it into 2, you mark it. Then you have to divide it into 2 again, and that will be the midpoint. So divide your round neck measurement into 2 and divide it into 2 again. Mark the first one you divided and mark the middle, the midpoint. So I'm just going to draw a straight line to connect the length of my collar. And when drafting this, your pattern paper has to be on fold, so when you open it, it's going to be 2. So from the starting point, we're going to come down by half of an inch, and I'm just going to mark that. So from the midpoint we divided, we're going to connect it to that half inch we marked. So this is it. I'm just going to connect it like that. So I'm just going to make sure it's visible for you to see. So this is it. So from that half inch we've marked, we'll just be coming down by 1 inch. So from this side, we'll come down by 1 inch. And this we are drafting right now is our collar stand, not the actual collar, it's the collar stand. So we're just going to draft 1 inch to the end of our collar. So I'm just going to make sure I have 1 inch, mark it, and we're going to connect it with a straight line. So after taking your round neck measurement, you divide it into 2. Then you take a straight line. Then what you divided into 2, you divide it again into 2. That's how you get that midpoint in the middle. So I'm sure you understand. So we're just going to take that straight line. So now that 1 inch mark, I'm just going to connect it to the bottom like that. So this is for the collar stand. So now we're going to draft the main collar on this same paper. So my round neck measurement that I got 18.5, I divide it into 2, that is 9.25. Sorry, 9.75, and I marked it. So what I have there is 9.75. I marked it. So I'm just making sure the line is visible for you to see what I am doing. So from that point, I'm going to come down by 2 inches. That will be the width of my collar. If you want your collar to be big, you can do 2.5 or 3 inches. But I'm making use of 2 inches for the width of my collar, the wideness of my collar. So we're just going to connect it with a straight line. So I'm just going to close that part. So what I'm going to do now is to come to the bottom part by 1 inch, and I'll make a mark at that, and I'm going to connect it to the end of that collar. So you just have to see what I am doing to understand what I am saying. Yes, so that's for the curve, the collar curve. Then the end part, I'm going to come up by half of an inch. I'm going to mark at that, and I'll be connecting it to that slant we made. Yes, so I'm just going to do that, and that will be all for the drafting of the collar. So if you do not understand this that I did, you can just tell me to make a detailed video on how to draft this collar. So we're just going to cut it out, and this I'm cutting out is into 2, and I'm going to use it to cut out my fabric. I'm going to use this pattern to cut out my fabric. So this is the collar stand, and this other part is the main collar. So this is what it should look like when you're done. So this is the collar stand and the collar together. So we're going to be using this to cut out the main fabric, and I'm also going to add interfacing to the fabric. So this is the collar stand and the collar. I added interfacing to one part of the collar and one part of the collar stand. So what we're going to do now is to place our collar right sides facing, and when cutting the collar, it has to be 2 each. Collar stand 2, collar 2. So this collar, we're going to be placing it right sides facing to each other, and we're going to be closing the sides. So we'll close the sides from that slant to the top and to the other slant, leaving the bottom open. So we're just going to do that. So when I was done doing that, I gave it a good press, and this is it. So the next thing we're going to do now is to take the collar stand, one part of it that has no interfacing, and we're going to place the collar on top of it. It has to be right side facing. So make sure of the wrong side and the right side. So this is the other part of the collar stand, and we're going to be placing it on it. So to make sure what I have is equal, I'm just going to make a notch at the middle. Then we're going to place it right side facing also on top of the main collar, and we're going to sew on it. So this is what it looks like when I was done sewing the collar. So this is how neat the collar is. So what we're going to do now is to attach this collar to our shirt. So we're going to be attaching the collar to our shirt. So I'm going to remove the pins I use in holding the plankets in place. I'm going to be removing it and showing you how to insert your collar. So this is the right side of the shirt. For this right side, I'm going to take the part that has no interfacing, that is the collar stand, and I'm going to place it on the wrong side of my shirt, the wrong side of the inside of your shirt. Yes, that is the wrong side, the inside. So I'm going to pin it round and show you what next. So that part we pinned down, we're going to sew on it straight. We're going to sew on it straight. So after sewing on it, you will take this other part that has interfacing, and we're going to use it to close up that part we have sewn, as you see me doing. So we're going to close it up like this. So this is how to insert your collar to your shirt. So I'm going to do this, then I'll add my sleeve to the shirt, and this is it. I went ahead to add my sleeve to this shirt, and what I marked there is going to be my buttonhole and the button. So you place your button on the right side, then the hole will be on the left side. So I'm going to give this a good press, and this will be all for this shirt. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.